You can see that it's a little bit different setup than some of the other sessions have been. So if you'll find a spot somewhere on the edge, Marilyn, right over here.
Okay, so I think my role is to say welcome yet again, and also just to tell you just a little bit of information from my perspective, which is just recently I was able to moderate the Voices from the Field panel at the NOIS PI conference. So NOIS is a teacher scholarship program, so the product for NOIS is a teacher. And I really want to say privileged to moderate this panel of 5 teachers who had just finished their first year of teaching in a high-need school. And it was an amazing panel. It was an amazing interaction amongst the teachers. I can't tell you, there were a couple of times where there were some rather damp eyes in the audience with some of the stories that the teachers had. And it was really just a wonderful thing to do. Obviously with ATE, it's a quality technical workforce. And it's wonderful to have technicians and students here. And I understand that everybody that's part of this panel is still in school, but is also still working, right? All right. So, I think I want to just welcome you all. I'm so glad you're here. And I think you guys have all had instructions as to how this whole thing is going to proceed. I know for me, I was talking to people and they're like, well, this is going to be a fishbowl. And I'm like, fishbowl? What do you mean it's a fishbowl? Now I can see why they called it a fishbowl. You guys are in the center in a circle, and you're going to have a discussion. And I want to say, I think there's other technicians and students in the audience as well. Yes? Here, this is something that that Mike Lasecki asked me. He said we really want to bring more students to this conference, and that was one of the things. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure for me to be able to say yes, I've got the funds, and yes, I think that that's a really important thing for high tech to keep as its perspective on and to do. So welcome to all of you, and I'm going to turn it over at this point to Elaine.
This is the 3rd or 4th time we've been doing this kind of thing, and it's been one of the most popular sessions at the High-Tech conference. It would be the 3rd time at the High-Tech, because this is only the 3rd High-Tech there is. Yeah. But we've also done some of these kind of sessions where we're asking the people in the center to talk between themselves. And then at some point we open this up, and Terrell Bailey is going to be the moderator of this session, and she does this for industry. It's a technique where we can really talk about what it's like to be in these programs, what it's like to go out and work in the workplace. What do you know now that you're out in the workplace, and so on. So I'm Elaine Johnson. I'm the executive director of BioLink, and that's the National ATE Center for Biotechnology. And we have been in existence for 13 years, so that's been a long time. And one of the things that we've learned throughout that period is that one of the most important things that we can possibly do is listen to our industry partners and listen to our students, and then listen to those people who have come through our programs and are now in industry. So that's why we're here. I'm going to ask all of you that are sitting on the edge to join the circle, because when we start interacting, we're going to want us to be an intimate group that is close to the fish, but we're observing the fish for the first part and then opening up to everyone else.
Does that make you guys relax your fish?
Well, you know, then we start, when we email each other, are you a mackerel or are you a sunfish? Or pretty soon, you know, it becomes a little easier to tell your story, just like talking through a puppet or something, because you can talk a little bit more freely when you take on a different persona. So Terrell Bailey is part of the Allison group. She works with industry. She has worked with this kind of technique and is really, really a professional at this. So I think that as we do this exercise, I'm hoping that you will also be learning a technique and seeing how this might apply when you might do something similar to this in a future conference or in your own school. It's a process as well as just learning and hearing what we want to hear this afternoon. So it is my great pleasure to turn this session over to Terrell Bailey.
Thanks, Elaine.
Welcome, everybody. How many of you have ever been to a fishbowl before? Oh, not a lot, but some. That's good. Well, as Elaine said, I'm Terrell Bailey. I'm with the Allison Group, and we do work with industry. We also do work with NSF ATE, both project work, and we're external evaluators. And it's my great pleasure to be here with these folks, our technicians, in the center of the room. So the way this is going to work is we'll take the first about half, a little more, a little less than half of the time, and these folks will have a chance to introduce themselves, to talk about their experience of being in careers in science, and we've got some predetermined questions. We might stray from those a bit. If that happens, it's great. And you sort of get to have the experience of being a fly on the wall and listening to these folks talk to each other as opposed to panel presentation. They're really going to have a conversation. And then we will open it up. So if you have thoughts or questions that come to you while you're listening to their conversation, make a note of it, or remember, but you might want to make a note of it if you tend to forget. And then we'll be able to open it up. We'll have a full group discussion. So our very first step is to ask our fish. You're the bowl, they're the fish. Ask our fish to introduce themselves and give you a little bit of information about what they're up to these days. So who'll start? Brandon, great.
So, hi everybody. My name is Brandon Harris. I went to school at Pennsylvania College of Technology, which is an affiliate of Penn State. Got my 2-year degree there in electronics. From there I took the NAC NMT, was what I call it, program through Penn State. Directly out of there, I started at Fairchild Semiconductor as an equipment technician, working on etch equipment in the clean room there. Been there for almost 3 years now. About a year ago, I got a promotion. Now I'm a process engineer at Fairchild, and that's pretty much it. So, just keep going. Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Christina Parton. I'm from Frankfort, Kentucky. I just graduated high school in 2010. I am currently in an associate degree intern program through Toyota in Georgetown, Kentucky, and Bluegrass Community and Technical College. I am going to become an advanced manufacturing technician, where I'm going to be fixing the machines when they break down and possibly going on to be an engineer. I am part of 24 students that are the first to be in the program that I am in. I am the only girl. The program was introduced by Toyota and MTech and Bluegrass for at 25 years, Toyota will their employees will be leaving for retirement. So they wanted to bring in young people, young minds to come in and take those places of the people that's going to be leaving. So we're here to replace them.
Hello, my name is TJ Ross. Currently, I am employed by Sandia National Labs doing research in microsensors. Post-graduation from high school, I joined the Navy, was in the Navy for 6 years as an electronics technician. I got out of the Navy and decided to go to college. Got an associate's degree in electronics technology, got an associate's degree in manufacturing technology, and got the job at Sandia National Labs. And since working at Sandia National Labs, I continued to work on a degree in electrical engineering from the University of New Mexico.
Hello, my name is Jen Osland, and I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas. And I graduated from Del Mar College, which is a community college, with an associate's in biology and another in biotechnology. And I currently work at the Texas AgriLife Research Center, and we're researching microalgae, biodiesel production, and also drought tolerance in different cotton streams.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Blancas. I live here in San Francisco, but I grew up in Southern California and got my first four-year degree in Florida at the University of Central Florida in theater with a stage management specialization. And I've spent the last decade working for different theater companies all over the country, and being in the theater world, it's very transient. So I'm looking for a way to settle down, put in my roots somewhere. So here in the Bay Area, there is a flourish of biotechnology industry. So getting into that industry, I'm currently a full-time student at the City College of San Francisco. I did complete the Bridge to Biotech as a way to refresh some of those math skills and science skills that have laid fallow in that decade that I was out doing theater. And so I've completed my lab assistant certificate. I'm now on my way to an associate's degree in biotechnology. I have done an internship with Proceta Incorporated here in San Francisco. And as a part-time venture, I am working with Elaine at BioLink.
Okay, thank you all very much. So, you all ended up, my mic is going into the streaming and not into the PA, but I think I can speak loudly enough for the room. So you all ended up in manufacturing, that's okay, advanced manufacturing or science. How did you end up there? I mean, there's lots of career pathways, and these are science and engineering kinds of pathways. How did you end up making a decision to go this way?
So mine kind of started when I was a junior in high school. I had a CAD class, computer-aided drafting class, and the teacher at the time, he decided that he wanted to take us on a field trip and basically see the Nano fabrication facility at Penn State. So me and my high school buddies were all dressed up in clean room suits, doing the moonwalk and stuff, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And basically from there, I saw that Penn College had offered the 2-year degree, and then at the end of the 2-year degree, you get to do the capstone semester at Penn State. And from that point on, I went for it, and I haven't looked back since. So.
Mine started when I was like 3 years old. My dad is a mechanic of everything. He would be out in the barn like fixing the tractors and cars and stuff, and at the time I was a daddy's girl, and I would always want to be out there with him. I thought that turning the wrench and stuff like that was really cool, and I wanted to go out and help him with it. But being an older man or whatever, he didn't want a little kid out there getting in his way. So I kind of left him alone. And then when when my mom and dad got divorced, when I was around 10 or 11, and I saw how dependent my mom had become on guys, I decided that I didn't want to have to live my life having to depend on somebody else, whether it be a guy or someone else in my family, because that's really hard. And so when I got into high school, I started taking like ag classes that I thought could help, which I had built like barns and stuff like that, and fixed tractors, and done different kind of ag stuff. And then my junior and senior year in high school, I got into auto tech, and that's what really brought me into what I am now. I got certified in changing oil, changing brakes, stuff, changing tires, fixing tires, just small stuff like that. And at the end of my senior year, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I really loved the environment that I had been in as far as like fixing the car and stuff when they broke. So my teacher talked to my instructor, Alan Robertson, at the college and got me into this program. And that's what got me into Toyota fixing the machines now.
For me, it was pretty simple. I had done my time in the Navy, and I'd already acquired the skills to be an electronics technician, so I just wanted to put them to use somehow and get a degree out of it. And I got the degree out of it, and while I was doing electronics, I took a class with Matthias Plow right here, doing MEMS 101, and I learned about microsensors and microactuators and how they're around the world, and that got me into another degree program. And I wanted to continue on doing engineering because I just feel like my skills can be utilized more. I love my job as a technician, but I think being an engineer would be a great job as well. So just from the Navy and learning and taking the job can continue to me to pursue even further. So.
So I've pretty much always been interested in science. I really think it's interesting, and I like figuring out how things work. And I was presented with an opportunity to do an internship last summer, actually out here at Berkeley, and I got to work in an actual lab and do real research, and I absolutely loved it. And I realized then, like, this is for sure, like, what I really want to do, like, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for it. So that pretty much convinced me, and now I have a job doing research, and I love it also, so I'm going to continue with my education in this field.
In terms of switching 180 degrees from theater, back in high school, I excelled in math and science, and it's at the time, I wasn't interested in pursuing that in terms of a career. I wanted to run and join the proverbial circus and do theater. But it's like nowadays, biotechnology, the sciences are on the tip of everyone's tongue. It's very cutting edge, and I was looking for something that would be challenging. I did 5 years in retail, and I needed the constant stimulus, not doing the same things over and over in a situation where, especially with the economic downturn, there was no upward mobility for me. So going back to what I did in high school, the math and the science, that was fun, that was creative, and I'm so lucky to be here in San Francisco, especially at City College, because of the program that they have. It's mainly for people who want to change, who may be a little rusty on the math and the science, but still have minds to be able to, that still have room to grow. So I wanted something like that, and with so much support, that's what I'm doing. I'm now rediscovering what I already had, so that's why I'm in it.
Thank you. So I know these guys are great, and it's very tempting to applaud after each one, but if you could hold your applause till the end, I think that would be good for the flow of conversation. But I could tell we're excited to hear what you have to say. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to introduce the topic of math. And there's some, I want to know how much advanced math is required. Do you guys have to do trig, algebra, calculus, what? For your degrees or programs, did you have any barriers to that? A lot of people have, a phobia about math. Was that true for you, or have you always just kind of been good at that? And just have a little discussion about math. And let's start with TJ this time, so that Brandon doesn't have to lead off.
So for me, when I was in high school, I took advanced math as it was. I was already taking trigonometry and physics, and in fact, when I had joined the Navy, they wanted me to take a test to be a nuclear electronics technician, and I took the test and I passed it, and it was very high level math, and I never did the nuclear part when I was in the Navy, but for me, math has always been kind of, I don't know, easy. Not easy per se, but like I've been comfortable with it. As opposed to some people who are comfortable with English, some people are comfortable. I'm pretty comfortable with math and science, so that makes it a little bit easier for me to take the degree program that I'm taking.
Do you use it at work?
Do I use it at work? I would say yes. For my job, I don't need to use like complicated math like calculus because I'm not the engineer. I'm not really doing the engineering portion, but understanding the higher math does help. To do simple things that my job alone, all I needed to have is a college algebra base. So
I'm not really afraid of math, but I like challenges, so I have gone as far as trig, which I thought was like really easy compared to inorganic chemistry. And I was actually taking those two classes at the same time, and I would actually blow my trig class off so that I could study my chemistry, because with chemistry it was like you had to like eat, breathe, sleep chemistry like all the time, and it was so much more challenging than, in my opinion, than trig was. Like trig is just memorize a few things and switch things around, and that's pretty much it. It's really easy. But with chemistry, it was more challenging, but I liked it. I learned a lot, and it's really cool because now I use it in my workplace. It's really neat where I finally can realize, oh, that's why we were doing all of this. So anyway.
Don't scare me about chemistry. I have yet to take the 101s and the O-chems and the inorganic chems. But I recently completed my first chemistry class in over 12 years. And I know, going back to it, it's like, oh my goodness, it's all still in there, amazingly. But in terms of math, in high school, I went all the way up to pre-calculus. I mean, I was doing standard derivations, no problem. But when you don't use it, you lose it. So with that bridge, in order to get me back into it, we were learning very simple algebra equations. We were learning dimensional analysis, C1, B1, C2, V2, because those are the things that you use in life sciences. You have to be able to follow a recipe, scale up, scale down, depending on how much or what quantity you need to make. And then using those formulas also helped me in chemistry, because we also use dimensional analysis and also use proportion sizes. So yeah, they're very much tied together. It's amazing how across all the spectrum, you have all of those relationships. So but fortunately, because I got that refresher, chemistry wasn't so scary. I actually passed with an A. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can do this. And I was surrounded by other people who were having such a tough time. I even tried to help tutoring some of my classmates. It's like, I try not to say, it's easy, anyone can do it, but actually challenging them to think through the problems.
Have you taken a stats class yet?
I did take a statistics class in community college way back when I was working on my first undergrad. But they basically taught me how to use a TI-83 calculator. That's all it was. And I'm like, so at the end of this class, I won't remember the concepts. And I think that's important. If you may not have memorized the formulas, but to know how to use them is very important.
Yeah, stats helps you a lot with the reading scientific papers, and that's also helped me with work as well. My stats and probability, like whenever I'm reading to do background research and what we're researching now, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand where they got these values and how they got them and where they're coming from. So stats is pretty good.
About the sample size? Where did the samples come from?
No. Well, I mean, it just depends, I guess, on what you're reading. But I mean, at least it helps to understand, like, at least the general idea of like what they're talking about, and then also too, like when we do our own analysis on our results, we can, quantify it and do the problems and stuff.
So in my 2-year program, I had to take up to trig. It was not required that we took a statistics class at all. And when I got to my job as a technician and also as an engineer, the most math I do is add, subtract, multiply, and divide. That is it. That's all I do. And pretty much a statistics class, I think, could have really helped me out a lot because I use statistics software all the time. It's a software called JUMP or JMP, whatever. I use that almost every day. And when I first got into my position, I was like, standard deviations, CPKs, what are all these, you know? So a statistics class, I think, could have really helped me when I first started. But I didn't have that. But, you know, you learn as you go. And oh, I have taken one since. I actually, yeah, I'm Six Sigma Green Belt certified now. So I'm good to go. So here you go.
In the program I'm in, math is hammered in your head every day. Every step you take, you got to use math. For the program that I'm in, the college part, you have to have trig. And as long as it's not imaginary numbers, I'm pretty comfortable with it. Every class that I've taken so far, which is I think it's about 6 to 12 classes, I think, something like that so far, has used math. You got to use electricity math, you got to use fluid power, pneumatics math, you got to use motor controls math as far as figuring out what size wires you need for this kind of motor, for this amount of current and this amount of volts. So you got to use math on a regular basis to make sure you don't blow something or kill somebody.
Is it more complicated than the West Virginia formula? That's something I remember is watching.
I have absolutely no clue what that is. To be honest with you.
Back in high school.
Okay, so here you are. You're in school and you have a job. You're in a technology, science job and career pathway. If you have you encountered any barriers that you had to overcome to get to where you are right now? And if so, what were they and how did you overcome them?
I'll go ahead and start with that one. For me, I'm the first person in my family to graduate high school. So I'm the first one to go to college. I'm the first one to do pretty much anything. So that in itself, is a pretty big barrier to overcome. And in the program, being the only girl, that's another barrier to overcome. And being at work at Toyota, we started out in production for a year. So that's not very much of a big deal. There's a lot of girls in production making cars. But the maintenance side, there's not very many girls at all. But that being at Toyota, they are very big on ethnicity. They try to get a lot of different kind of everybody in there. So I've been in maintenance a few times, even though I'm not supposed to yet. I've been in there, and everyone is there, right there when I need them. If I have a question, they're there for me. They don't. They realize that I am a girl and I am very small, and I'm not like macho or anything. So they understand and they help me at every chance. So it's not too big of a burden or anything. So it's not really too big of a deal as far as that part.
I would say, as far as getting an education that's challenging, that has barriers, if you would say, for me, it's the fun of the degree. I mean, why would I want to do something easy? I would rather do something challenging that makes me think harder than to do something that is a no-brainer. I mean, it takes more work to figure it out, sure. But as far as actually convincing myself that I want to do this program, I do it because it's hard, it's challenging, it's not easy. So that's one of the reasons why I like this field, is because of challenges, and that's never held me back at all.
For me, a barrier to overcome is self-confidence. In terms of not accessing my math and my science for so long, I didn't know if I was able to reintroduce myself to it. And that's the reason why I chose to go through the remedial portion of it, because I knew if I jumped full feet right into, the bigger classes, I would probably get lost, and I would probably be scared. But by going through something, you know, as remedial as Bridge, it's a great opportunity to have support. And by going through the trenches with other students that are also trying to suffer through doing math that's beyond anything they've ever done before, even though for some it's as simple. There's such a diversity of skill in terms of math. Also, I am in classes with people who have English as a second language. So even overcoming the language barrier, understanding new terminology, because science to them is a new language in addition to being in English. But being with these people, we form a community, and then as we go through the rest of our education, we know we can call on each other to find out which professors to take, which curriculum should we go through, you know, what degree pattern are you guys into right now? And what's great is we do internships after the Bridge for those that choose it, and you go right into industry. You get to take a peek and be like, oh, that's exciting, or that's exciting, I want to do that. So that has encouraged me so much, and I know that, you know, even where I've been, I am capable of so much more. I've seen people from all different backgrounds, even people who don't even speak English, who are able to be successful in this country. So it is the land of opportunity. I just need to go out and grab it.
Biggest barrier for me, I think, was probably financial. Coming out of high school, you know, if I had the opportunity to go straight for my PhD, I probably would have, but financial responsibilities would not permit me to do that. So a big thing for me, even coming out of high school, I said to myself, you know, I want to get a 2-year degree, and then I want to find somewhere that pays for me to go back to school. So that's exactly what I did.
I would say my situation is kind of along the same lines as that, just kind of trying to find a balance between work and school and making sure everything kind of lines up. But I think I kind of found a way to get it to work fairly well. And now I guess the only thing is just, you know, focusing on classes and making sure you do well in school, because that's what really counts.
I just want to say too that, you know, going from technician to engineer, I can say that I wouldn't be half the engineer I am without first being a technician. So really going that way up through the ranks isn't a bad thing at all. A lot of people think they, you know, just want to go to school and get it over with, but which I can see why you'd want to do that. But at the same time, it makes you a better engineer or scientist or whatever you're going to go on to be.
Some of the classes that I've taken are far more advanced than I thought I would ever have anything to do with. For example, PLCs, for those of you who don't know what that is, programmable logic controls. That's computer language, computer talk. That's like a total different language that you have to learn. Now I'm currently in that class right now, and I'm having some troubles with it. But I'm able, because I'm at Toyota, I'm able, and they use that like every day, I'm able to go to work and talk to people about PLCs and to help me understand it. And some of the classmates, I'm able to go to them and they help me understand it too. So that's a boundary or whatever that I've had trouble with that I'm also helping overcome.
I just want to add real quick. You said about self-confidence being a barrier for you. I remember in my 2-year degree, you know, I had to take trig, and then when I started working I'm going for a bachelor's degree in chemistry now at Wilkes University. I had to take a lot of calculus there, and I was afraid to take calculus. Even though I did good in algebra and trig, it was like in my head that calculus was impossible. 4 calculus classes later, I understand that it's not impossible at all. So.
That's what I hear about OChem too.
There's people who've survived those classes and gone on to live a life, yeah.
Are they in?
Yes. There's, yeah. So when you think about the classes that have been most helpful to you in your current job or your job path, in the work aspect of your life, What would you say were the most helpful and why?
Could you repeat your question?
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. So when you think about the classes you're taking or have taken, which ones have been most helpful for your success in your career? Your current job or your career pathway, and why? What did those classes contribute to your success?
I'd have to say inorganic chemistry. Yes, even though it was really difficult and I spent like tons of time buried in my chemistry book, I use that the most now at work, and I found that it's really rewarding once you actually understand everything, and then you're able to go to work and apply what you learned at work. It's really awesome. Sometimes.
Something that was really helpful to me, being that I've gone through 3 semesters now in my AS track, the bridge, it's a full intensive semester. You've got 3 classes that rely on each other. They cross-teach over the barriers in terms of English application and science and the math. The science class, the science portion, is where it's a lot of hands-on. Every week you're doing an experiment, a different experiment every week. And the purpose of it is not necessarily the experiment itself. It teaches you how to work in groups. Every week you can be working with different people, different personalities, different attitudes, yet you have a task list to complete. And at the same time, you're trying to model good laboratory practices by keeping a notebook. That was my first chance ever keeping a notebook. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to write a conclusion. I have to pay attention to the table of contents. I have to make sure that when I make a mistake, I only line through and then initial it. You mean I can't scratch it out? I basically don't carry whiteout with me anymore. But right after that, then I was able to go into an internship, and I know that my mentor appreciated me being on top of my notebook skills, and also being that I did a lot of hands-on stuff, she was able to pass assignments to me and then not have to worry that I have good pipetting skills or I'm able to follow a procedure because I had that practice every single week. So it's that repetition, and that helped me a lot.
My courses at the capstone semester were by far the most beneficial to me. When I came into my job as a technician, I think a lot of the guys I work with were just completely amazed that I knew a lot of the acronyms, like an MFC, mass flow controller. Like I knew all of that coming into work, and I think they were all really impressed. And I was surprised that what I just learned was exactly what I was doing. Another thing that really helped me there was, you do the lab reports at the program, and constantly, like probably 3 times a week now, I have to write lot reports. So if I run an experiment on a lot, I'm doing a lot report, I'm writing a conclusion, I'm doing the report. So that's something that we did every week at the program, and I was just fully prepared from that program for what I'm doing now.
The people or the guys back in school would probably hate me for saying this part, but I think the most important class to me wasn't necessarily a class in the college curriculum. For me, I'd say it was because all those classes are equally important. But for me, I want to say the most important class was our 5S classes, which is Toyota's implementation of how to keep stuff organized and how to keep stuff clean, and how to keep it. If something messes up, you're gonna know really quick, and it keeps you safe. It keeps you from getting yourself killed. It keeps you from falling, tripping, or something like that. If a machine is about to break down, it's leaking. If it's clean 5S, then you're able to see it, and you're able to get it fixed before you have major breakdown time. So the 5S classes is the most important classes, I think. Which, by the way, 5S is sift, sort, spick and span, sustain, sift, sort, sweep, wash, and sustain. I think I'm missing one, but oh well. That's still the most important class, I think.
For me, there was a couple classes that were really handy in helping me get my job. First of all, I applied for a position that was in a rad hard CMOS group where you needed to have knowledge on basic semiconductor fabrication. And my knowledge alone in that area from taking a semiconductor manufacturing technologies course was sufficient for my manager to be impressed and want to hire me just because I had that skill set. But another class that was really helpful that I took was it was a MEMS class we took to build an actual pressure sensor. And my skills that I learned from that class alone, I learned how to go through an entire process of building a sensor from start to finish. And when I got my job at Sandia, I sat down with the staff member that I was working with, and I said, here are the devices that we have, so let's just go through the process flow. And I think I have the process flow down, but the class doing the pressure sensor helped me to be a much better technician because I went directly into the fab and I was able to start doing my job right away. And that helped me because, obviously I didn't need to be trained in that area very much. I had already been taught that. So those are the two classes that were more beneficial for me.
So clearly, your college programs provided you with a foundation and information that you could apply and leverage to get your career and to be as successful as you are in your careers and moving forward. So the next question is, given that, how could your colleges have been even more effective for you? How could they have perhaps built on what you experienced to be more helpful? And was any part of your college experience in your program a waste of time? You thought you could have used it better to prepare you for your current work as a technician?
One thing I wish that I had more experience with that I had learned at school is about writing research papers. We did write papers, but it really wasn't the same in my opinion because like the papers that we would write, of course you'd have your abstract, intro, and results and everything. But I know like that the internship I did last summer, we had to write a paper and, like the top so many papers got chosen to be published in the DOE undergrad research journal. And I was like, wow, that'd be really cool. So I put together my paper and I had one of the guys that I work with go over it for me. And when he did, like, there's so many red marks all over my paper. I was actually kind of embarrassed. Like, I was like, wow, that really sucks. I really tried really hard. And he just like ripped my paper to shreds. And I was just like wishing I had a little bit more experience because obviously whenever I read what I had and comparing it to an actual like published article is a big difference. So I wish I had a little more experience with that as far as that goes because I wanted to do a better job.
I don't know what I'm going to say. No knowledge was wasted, I don't think. I mean, you can build on anything, really. So looking back at the classes I took, I had to take solid state, and then AC, DC classes. I don't think I use any of those directly, but at the same time, I probably do and don't realize it. So I can't really say there was any class that I wish I was a waste of time, per se. What was the rest of your question?
Anything you would have liked more of?
More of SPC. I think I already touched on that. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but another thing, too, I wanted to add is I wish that we could have also tied in together the statistics part of the research with what we were doing in class. Because now, like at work, I see how the statistics is like involved everywhere in everything that we're doing. And we would analyze our results in class, but that would be really cool if we could do like some statistical analysis on it as well.
I know that I'm agreeing with you. In my internship, we were able to see portions of a real experiment happening in order to develop research to later be turned into product. And I was able to assess samples, but when it came time to do data analysis, I had to input data into Excel. And we had a very basic touching on how to develop a graph. But the statistics of having your error bars, yeah, standard errors. I'm like, oh my goodness. Fortunately, I wasn't shy. I asked for help, but having a basic working knowledge of that, I wasn't sure why I was doing it. I know it needed to be done because it was part of the procedure, but it would be a more fulfilling experience if I knew what it is I was analyzing, so then I would be able to conclude about it or talk about it with my colleagues. So. Yeah, being able to analyze the data, more of that, I think, would be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree, because last year when I went to the search poster competition, my results section was missing the standard error, and that was pointed out to me by some of the judges.
It's kind of interesting because as a technician, when I worked as a technician, it was my responsibility to just gather the data, and then the engineer would analyze the data. But it seems like both of you guys analyze the data as well, not being engineers. So that's pretty interesting. The other thing I'd like to point out is I know as educators, putting as much stuff into 2 years is hard, but internships are pretty key. I don't know how possible it is to fit internships into a 2-year program. I know you're already crammed for what you want to put in there, but I can see how internships, the right internships, could really benefit a student.
I would have to say that probably the one class that I wish I could have taken while I was in college, and to this day I still can't wait to take this class, is a material science course. Just understanding the difference between ceramics, metals, polymers, why they're different, why they can change, why, all these things. It would be very helpful in my job, that's for sure. And I wasn't able to take that class when I was at CNM. But now that I'm at UNM, I have to, have all these prerequisites, and it's going to be a while before I get there. So I would say understanding basics of material science would be extremely helpful for somebody in my field. Another thing that would have been more helpful when I was in school was just basic, testing, device testing. But I would definitely say material science.
The way my college is laid out, there are no walls. Like, between classes, it's just one big room. There is not one wall in the entire thing. So that was done that way because when we go out into the field and we go to fix these machines at Toyota, we don't have walls. We have machines that are blaring and people that are trying to work and stuff being dropped. And that's the same thing that's the same kind of environment that we're learning in, which I think is really good because it gives us, this is how we're going to be working and this is how we're going to be learning. So it gives you a heads up in advance. Something that I would personally rather see different though would be like in the classes we have 2 hours of lecture and then 2 hours of doing lab in the same class. I think it would be a whole lot, it would be easier for the students to understand everything if it was like, if you were standing by something that you're getting ready to work on, like at a cabinet, getting ready to wire up this circuit. And if you were like talking about everything as you were going in steps, I think that would help everyone understand everything a whole lot easier and understand how an interlock system would work and the e-stop like on a PLC compared to hardwired and stuff like that would be a whole lot easier if you were doing it right there hands-on as they were saying it.
I just want to also add about the internships that those are super, super important. Earlier this morning, a question was asked, how do we get more people to want to be a scientist. Well, we need to have more internships available. I can say that that's greatly influenced me, and I know it's influenced a lot of my fellow students as well. And at our college back in Corpus, we do have a poster symposium where all the students get together and we show what we did over the summer, and we present it to other, students and teachers and parents, family. So not last year, but the year before, we had like maybe 2 or 3 posters. Well, last year it went from 2 or 3 to 14. So I mean, that's a really big jump. And I mean, it just goes to show, like, if you have those internships available and people actually go and they try it, and then you express what you did to other students, it sparks their interest as well. And then I definitely see our future growing with that.
Being also jumping in full feet, I took over being co-president of the Biotechnology Club at my school, in addition to a full-time schedule, because after that first semester, I did take an internship, and at the end of that semester, we have a huge networking event where all the students that had internships present their posters, and we actually bring industry professionals in to judge them. They choose a finalist, and we have an award for the poster that they pick. But I try to pull students from the Biotechnology Club in to go to that networking event, so that way they can see what these posters are. And people in the club aren't necessarily following biotechnology. They might be interested in chemistry or biology or microbiome or, other disciplines, but by bringing them in, they see, oh, this is pretty cool. And then they're able to talk to the students and find out what their experience was like. I know that was instrumental to me. I mean, even after one semester, I was able to do an internship. I'm capable of it. I know that there's more education that I want to do, but it enables so much by having that internship.
Okay, last question. So, what do you see for your careers in the future? Where do you see yourself going? And what trends do you see in your field that are unfolding and innovations? So trends and innovations, and then your career pathway as you see it for the future.
Well, I am so fortunate to be living in Biotech Bay, and also in the state of California. On the tip of everyone's tongue right now, especially, is green technology, green energy, biofuels, stem cell research, because California has, grant money to be able to put towards that. So that initially is what's drawing people in, but other people are interested in cancer research. So I'm still trying to figure out what discipline I want to follow, but I'm definitely going towards my associate's degree. From there on, it's still open for me. But finding a way of marrying my theater experience, especially in management, into science, I can see myself as going into lab management, being able to set up an area in order to do experiments in, being there for the PIs, making sure that they have what they need. Being a technician now, I understand how important it is for safety aspects, and also, keeping everything well stocked, ordering ahead, being onto whatever trends are going on in research, and going to conferences to be able to talk to other people, find out what their best practices are, and then bring that back. So we'll see in terms of education how far I go, but I will keep pulling it in. I'm like a sponge right now.
I agree that the green research is really right now, and I definitely see a future in that, because my past 2 summers have been different research topics, but they're both off dealing with green energy. And there's actually a lot of people that I know currently that are really interested as far as like business people that want to invest. So I can see a definite future in that. And I know that the research I did last summer had a patent, so I could only put on my poster like certain items that we researched. But definitely, for myself, I do want to continue my education, and I want to go into medical. So hopefully next summer I can get myself a internship in a medical lab.
For MD or PhD?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet.
As far as innovations and new technologies go, changes every day. It's hard to keep up with it just from day to day. I mean, just the research that I do at Sandia National Laboratories is consistently changing. Some of the things that I've worked on that are unique, that are at the forefront, or graphene structures. Trying to find a replacement for silicon because there are much more, faster materials that can be used other than silicon. That's a huge emerging area of research that is probably not going to die for some time. Micro optics, huge area of research that I don't can see dying anytime soon. I mean, the sky's the limit, really. I mean, from day to day, there's new technologies coming out that need to be researched and explored. I don't see that ever stopping happening. As far as my education goes, I think I'm going to continue to get my bachelor's. Once I get my bachelor's, I want to look to go see about doing a master's degree program. In fact, now that we're here in San Francisco, I honestly wouldn't mind going down to visit Stanford because they're probably one of the best electrical engineering programs in the country. So that's always an option. And I honestly don't see myself in the future not continuing to pursue maybe even a PhD. I mean, it's a little far in the future, but it's always, I think that I might eventually want to do it, so.
Through the program that I'm in, they have, at the end of it, you can either choose to go on to Toyota or go on to UK or EKU to be an engineer. I would love to go ahead and get hired on by Toyota right after I get done out of my associate's degree, which is, by the way, is not guaranteed. I hope I get a job, but it's not guaranteed. If I am able to go on to Toyota and get hired on full-time, they have a outreach program which would pay for me to go on and further my education. And so if I was able to get hired on full-time, I would definitely want to go ahead and be an engineer, which would definitely make the stars the limits for me even further. So that's definitely something I wouldn't mind doing.
One thing I've noticed just in my short time in the industry is that, especially the semiconductor industry, is that you have huge swings. You have upturns and downturns, layoffs and hires. And, at the end of 2008 and beginning of 2009, the company I worked for was laying off and had plans to close down. And now we have projections that we're running full bore and expanding, actually. So everything's very unpredictable. I wouldn't mind staying in the semiconductor industry, but at the same time, if it leaves or, something drives me to go elsewhere, that's so be it. So for the most part, I like to stay in semiconductors and, always continue the education as much as possible, as long as family and other things don't come first. So.
Now would be a really good time to applaud. All right, so we want to open it up to large group discussion, and we want to start, though. There are some technicians who are in the audience who are not part of our FISH, who may have something to add to the theme and the domain that we've been talking about. So if you are here as one of the NSF fellows and you're a technician, who would like to, from the audience, add to this a bit? Eugene. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Gene Henners. I'm actually a technician at GE Global Research in Niskayuna, New York. I put down, I do thin film deposition for solar cell research. But a lot of what, the thing that I really want to say, it was touched on in the panel, and I want to encourage the educators that are in here, maybe you can bring this back to your schools. A lot of programs have very simple electives built into the programs. And that is probably the biggest waste of education, is the ability to choose an elective that, you know, a lot of times these kids are being challenged, and they're going to choose the easiest thing a lot of times that they can possibly take. These electives really should be more designed towards their goals and things that will help them as they come out of these programs, not electives that are, these guys are technicians. Do they really need, and don't take me wrong on this, do they need a theater elective? You know? I mean, simple things like that. One of the questions was, what would have helped you in these programs? You know, a lot of these guys are in research, statistical process control at the level where, you know, you're in a college, a 2-year college program. Some colleges don't offer it, but it's very, very important in research. So those should be more of the types of electives offered rather than meaningless electives.
Thank you. No offense taken. Thank you. Are there any other technicians in the audience? All right, then, we're opening it up to anyone. There are. Where are they?
He's going to say something about math.
Who? Yeah, oh yeah. I can see the look on your face. There it is.
All right, so my name is Gabriel Santamaria. I'm a fellow bridge student for over here. I'm currently at City College San Francisco pursuing an AS in Biotechnology, a BS, or Bachelor's of Science in Biochemistry, and hopefully will proceed to medical school. Just how she was saying, and they were all saying that math is very challenging, but I'm sure that they feel a reward that comes along with it when you actually dominate something that was a challenge. So I know a few of them, to them, it was nothing, but to me, it felt great. Like, I started the program a couple years ago. I couldn't do fractions. I proceeded to ace every algebra class. I should be in calculus by spring, and I think math is empowerment. Knowledge is power, and it's very powerful. You know, it makes you, to know something causes you to go back into your respective neighborhoods and share that power, share that knowledge. And a mind that's taught something can never go back, and it just feels very wonderful. I'm very grateful to Dr. Quaper, Dr. Clement, like all my teachers that have given me a new outlook on life. And I think that science and math is fundamental to the future of our country, the future of our children, our safety, our security as a nation. Just, you know, not to sound cheesy, but it's the truth. You know, a lot of countries focus on that, and I think it's a beautiful thing when we have people that are focusing on that, especially people that don't come from those type of backgrounds, such as this lady right here that said she comes from fixing trailers, fixing cars. You know, that's math. You know, that's math. Whether you realize it or not, that's math, and math is everywhere. So, math and science all the way. You know.
Okay. Here we go. Brian, nice to meet you.
How y'all doing? I'm a student too. I'm at a university right now. I'm studying electrical engineering, but I started my engineering education at a community college. And maybe a question for you guys would be, who are teaching your courses? Because I had 2 very different experiences, and now that I'm at the research university, it's at Virginia Tech, and a lot of my professors, they rush through the basics because that's stuff they did 20 years ago, and then they start talking about their research, and it's really fascinating stuff, but it doesn't translate into practical application very well. And it turns out that a lot of the teachers at community colleges come from industry, and they're technicians. They're people that, you know, probably came from work to go teach this class. So maybe if we're calling out the technicians, you know, go back and teach, because we want to hear what's going to be, what knowledge should we retain, and what's stuff that just is, you know, it's good to be stimulated, but we want to know, like, what can we take and put in our pocket and go use someplace. So maybe if you guys want to.
My school has 3 instructors. It's a rather small college, but one of our instructors is a ex-Army pilot, and he fixed airplanes and stuff like that. So he is the all-around guy at our college. He teaches every class that we have. So he is an excellent teacher. I've learned more from him than any of the other teachers over there. One of our instructors was what I'm doing was a technician in plastics, which is also the department I work in. He fixed the machines and stuff, so now he is a teacher over there teaching the exact same stuff that I'm going to be working on in a year. And the other instructor that we have is a technician that has worked at several different factories around Kentucky, and he is pretty well-rounded. He likes to go off on conversation, but he knows exactly what he's talking about. So all of our teachers have worked in the field for their entire lives. So that's really good for us students. Anybody else?
I hope I don't offend anybody here. So I went to Pennsylvania College of Technology. Like you said, most of my professors there were from industry. And I'm currently at a 4-year university, Wilkes University, where most of my professors are PhDs who may or may not have industry experience. And I can kind of agree with you in the fact that my professors that had industry experience were definitely better professors. I'm not saying that the ones that didn't have any industry experience were, bad teachers, but I can definitely see the relation from the people that worked in industry. I had more to add to that, but I forgot now.
At our school, we do have some people from industry that come and give talks to us about what's currently going on and what will be going on in the future as far as like demands for jobs and like different like techniques. And we actually one time got to practice that technique in lab, which was really cool. So if the people from industry at least can't teach, at least it would be nice for them to come and give speeches and talks to you guys.
I have a variety of experience amongst my professors. Most of them are from industry. I have PhDs. I have some that do not have academic training necessarily, but have brought their industry experience in. I also have professors who are not familiar to the extent that other professors are. I have my language class in my bridge to biotech is taught by an ESL instructor who before that had very rudimentary knowledge about biotechnology. And I had a math teacher who was all math, but was brought into the program to help teach the math as it related to life sciences. What's very important is relationships with industry professionals. There are ways for my professors in my program to go out into industry and ask those professionals, okay, if we send this student out into your workplace, what do they need to know when they walk in the door? Do they need to know how to prep a lab notebook? Do they need to understand data analysis? Do they need to know how to follow a procedure? Do they need to know how to do it safely? So by bringing in that input from outside, in terms of the community college, people are there to get a job or to move on, so there's a lot of information that needs to be packed in there. But yeah, industry, bringing that in, making that relationship, yeah.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, opening it up to questions. All right, we'll see if we get to everybody.
Okay, as students and as technicians, what kinds of things do you think would be helpful for you to see at a conference like this?
Something I benefit from greatly is the opportunity to look at scientific posters. Being a student, I need to look at something to aspire to, being able to talk to people who put them together, because educators, no offense, some of you are PhD level and beyond, and it's a little difficult to relate, being, someone, down at the bottom of the totem pole, to find people in the middle to be able to relate to. Yesterday, I went on the BioRad tour, and I was able to network with someone who just completed an MBA after completing, a bachelor's degree in bioscience. So she is the bridge then, to taking me further and beyond, because we have common experience. We can relate to that. So not just having educators and students, but having people in between.
This morning when they were introducing everybody, I was pretty amazed at how much stuff some of the people had accomplished, and I thought that was pretty inspiring, because I was like, wow, that's really awesome. So it kind of inspired me to like continue and do on and keep going and just like work really hard. So that was pretty cool. And also the networking is really a big deal too. I've noticed because of the people that I've met, it's allowed me to come back here, and it's nice to see people again, like familiar faces.
I think a few of the things that I always think are interesting at conferences is just learning new things about stuff that I've never seen before. New technologies, obviously, learning things that I'm not familiar with. Another thing that I've noticed at this conference is, I don't know, there's been a few talks about, economics with, trying to link industry with education. I thought that was interesting. And also like entrepreneurial sort of talks about, students and starting up businesses, stuff like that. I always think those are pretty interesting, and that's kind of like what I've been looking for since, when I've been looking at the schedule of the talks. I've been looking for talks that are similar to those. So.
One of the biggest things that I would like to see come out of these conferences is networking. I mean, I know we have it, quite a bit of it, but I mean, I would hope that every single person that leaves here has my contact information, that if they ever have, seriously, like, if you ever have a question, industry professional. So that's what I.
Something that I think would be beneficial, not for myself or people like us here right now, but for the younger generation, like people that's in high school right now. The point of the conference that I see, and some of the people that are here, is to get out there everything that we're learning about here, manufacturing, biotechnology, things like that. We've heard it 1,000 times. We all need to start back in high school, or K through 12, or the earlier years. I think it would be very beneficial for the younger generations to have a opportunity to come to something like this, so that myself, I wouldn't have ever come here, because I didn't know anything about it if some of the people that I came with hadn't had told me about it. But, if it wasn't for my instructor in high school, I wouldn't even be where I am now. So if conferences like this, national foundations and stuff like that, were to get more involved in actual high schools around the country, I think it would make all the kids' lives a whole lot better. Give them more horizons, make them get closer to the stars than they're already going to be, because some people are hidden under their shells and they're scared to come out. I know I was. So people are like that. They're scared until someone gives them that boost. So I think that would be something really good.
Thank you, Christina. Heading here first, and then I'll come back, and then I'll hit the other side.
Christina, you mentioned being the first and also being a woman in your industry. Many of us, I feel, we're still don't see ourselves that often. Have you seen what the changes that you've made about going into this program, being the only female in the program? Have you seen younger people? Have you seen it influence your family or your community?
I have, with me being the only girl, the first only girl, I've seen it change a lot. A lot of the views of the guys at school, their views on girls have changed a lot. The guys at work that I work with, their views has changed a lot on girls, on what they can do. You know, most, not all, but most older guys are in the mindset that, you know, this is a man's job and the girl can't do it. You know, having a young lady in there really changes their mindsets that I've seen. I also have another job at Advanced Auto Parts in Georgetown, and I know that a lot of the older redneck guys, you could say, come in there and was like, "What are you, a little girl, doing behind the counter trying to help me do this stuff that I've done my entire life?" And I'm like, I might not seem it, and I might not look it, but I can do this stuff just as well as you can. And I go out there and I change the batteries, I change the brakes, I do everything they can do just as well, if not better. So, I've had, when I worked at the Frankfurt store, I had people come up, older women come up to me and tell me how influential that I am to them, being at a parts house where it's mainly a guy's atmosphere. I've had them ask me to go to a local education center and try to teach classes on auto mechanics, just on basics. So I've had a very large influence on it, and impact on the people around me. Y'all wanna?
Congratulations on your pioneering spirit, persistence, and determination. Question I have for the group as a whole is, you've all brought up internships. And I don't think it's a matter of internships, it's a matter of the right internships. Can you characterize for us what you think the right internship is comprised of?
Yay. We have a ooh, yes.
How about I start with what the wrong internship is? Exactly. Yeah. So an internship should not be. Well, for example, I had a project not too long ago, and it required a lot of busy work. And everyone kept saying, "You should get an internship. You should get an intern to come do your busy." That's a bad internship. So a good internship is somebody, like a company that has a program set up, something that they have structured for an intern to do, not just to go in and get coffee and that sort of thing. So that's...
I totally agree with you. At Toyota, the internship that I'm in, like I mentioned earlier, you have to be in production for a year and then go into maintenance. And that internship isn't, like you said, going and making copies or going and fetching your tools when you have a breakdown or something. We're actually able to get in there, and if we have a breakdown, change the sensor or change the wire or make changes in the blueprints. So that's a really, I think that's a good example of a great internship.
So as educators, you may want to make a list of companies that offer internships, and not let it would be nice to let the student go out and choose their own internship, but you don't know what they're going to get with that internship. So maybe if you had a list of companies that have programs set up for interns or something like that, that would be good.
To add to that, at City College, we do have a relationship with the companies that take our students on as interns. And there are internships at various levels depending on what the student is capable of doing. There are some where it's one major task that they repeat over and over in order to get familiar with it. There are some where they're doing multiple tasks. Something that I enjoyed in my internship was seeing the process all the way through, in terms of knowing what the experiment is, how the part that I play in it is valid to what the research being done, and then going into data analysis and finding out, okay, so I was able to do gel electrophoresis in acrylamide, so we're looking at proteins. Why should I care? What effect is that going to have on industry? It validates and empowers by having a process, having a story, if you will, about what is happening in the internship.
I agree that the internship, a good one has a lot to do with the mentor, who your mentor is, and how willing they are to, or enthusiastic that they are in helping you learn and wanting you to learn and understand. I had a really awesome internship. However, my mentor last summer, at times I could tell like he would be a little bit frustrated with me because I think I would ask too many questions because I was trying to understand like on a molecular level like exactly how everything was working. But I was really lucky. I mean, he did help me a lot, but then I also worked with a postdoc, and he was a little more into me learning like how it would work. So like I had multiple areas to get help as far as like understanding and learning how everything was working. So a lot of it has to do with the mentor themselves.
As an intern, I learned a lot. I was exposed to a lot of different things that I hadn't seen. One day I was working on, microfabrication, and the next day I was working on a test setup for a microfluidics channel system. So I was exposed to a lot as an intern. I learned a lot, so that was good, and I got the foot in the door. And as far as like now that I'm a technician and we hire interns, usually we hire interns because we have a ton of work and we have nobody to do it because we're all busy. And we get an intern that can do a great job. He can just help us that much better. And usually, like, at least where I work, we don't hire people for interns to do busy work, that's for sure. Even though sometimes interns get hired and they don't have much to do, usually, at least in the group that I work in, if we hire an intern, it's because we have a dire need for help and a chance for an intern to learn a lot, so.
Everything that you teach has to have a purpose. If you don't feel like it has a purpose, then you feel like you're wasting your time sitting there trying to learn it, other than for the test coming up. So for when you're doing an internship, don't say, well, this isn't necessarily important, but make sure it has a purpose.
All right. Heading around this way, and then we'll get you guys.
My name is Chuck Weiner. I'm from Purdue University, Calumet in Indiana. And one of the things that I think all of you are addressing right now is that if an internship is meaningful, it has to have some standards. And there is the National Society of Experiential Learning. Our campus subscribes to that, as a member of that. And in order for a course in our curriculum within the whole university, whether it's liberal arts, social sciences, engineering, information technology, which is where I'm at, it has to have all these 7 different criteria met. Otherwise, you're not accredited by our campus nor the National Association. So that's a significant part. I have 3 other questions, though, that are kind of rapid together, I think, for all of you. And that is a paid internship different than a non-paid internship for you guys? How does it relate to your learning, to your respect when you get out and start working because you had that experience? Another is when you present your results, which you mentioned, for senior projects or whatever it may be, who's there other than the people that you may have done the work for, okay? In our case, it should be, hopefully, and we don't do this enough actually, but it should be more than just the class or the students that are in that particular experiential learning program, because then they're going to get, like what you mentioned, they're going to see and hear the benefits of many different varieties of activities that students have been able to work on. And then the third thing is, which I'd like you to answer, is which of the non-technical classes do you think have given you the most benefit or are the most important? And I know we talked about courses and things of that nature, but in terms of non-technical courses, we have our advisory committee members and they tell us what they feel is critical to them in terms of hiring our graduates. But from your perspective, what do you think it is?
Okay. As far as paid and unpaid, personally, I think it depends on each individual's experience and their situation. I know that like if I didn't need if I didn't have bills or car payment, like I would do it with no money just because I would want to learn and I'd want the experience. But the fact that like I have responsibilities, paid internships look a lot better to me than non-paid internships, but the experience is what's most important. The second thing, as far as like posters, like who's looking at my poster, at school it would just be fellow students, teachers, and family, but I actually did get a chance to go to a poster competition where I had judges and people from all over the US from different schools asking me questions about my poster that I actually couldn't answer because it was coming from all different perspectives and aspects of their career towards like what I was researching, which was a really good experience. And then the last question I would say would be my speech class, which I would love to go back and like really polish my speaking skills. That's really important, especially when you're presenting your posters and right now.
Let's see. In terms of a non-technical class, I would have to agree speech. Going back to the bridge program, we have that language class. You work on terminology, you work on presenting yourself, you do research on a topic and present it to the class using visual aids or note cards, different methods. Also, how to develop a resume, how to be able to network, how to interview. Those are life skills that transcend even whatever career it is that you're studying. I mean, if you have to find a job in addition to going to school in order to pay those bills, those skills, are very important in addition to the speech. I'm very fortunate in that when you take an internship at our school, there is a networking conference that happens at the end of the semester. All of the students have to present. We have industry people, we have other students, we have students that have no relationship to the program directly. We have students that happen to be walking through campus to another class totally unrelated and are like, what is this? Something I may suggest to piggyback onto what Christina was saying earlier, start earlier in terms of getting people excited about science. Why don't you bring in a busload of high school students just to check it out? Because the experience of having to explain it to PhD, have to explain it to industry, have to explain it to someone who has no idea what it is that you are doing, that's a great way to utilize those speech skills, make sure that you understand the concept and not just what you actually did.
So 2-minute warning. We have to end on time, so we have about 2 more minutes.
Okay, real quick. So is technical writing considered a technical course? I'm not sure, but technical writing, I think I learned to write resumes there. I learned to write papers without using the word I, we, that kind of thing. It was a technical paper. That was a really good course for me. I use that every day. As far as paid and unpaid internships, you as educators are in the unique situation where we pay you and then you tell us what to do. So if you, right, if you make it required, it shouldn't need to be paid. If it is paid, great, but as a student, I don't think it would make it any difference. Like she said, it's about the experience, not the pay, so.
The program that I'm in, I think that pay had a lot of influence on the students actually coming in, because we're working at Toyota. Everyone in Georgetown knows someone that works at Toyota because that's how big it is. In the program, we get paid for 24 hours a week. We go to school on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we go to work in the plant on Monday, Thursday, and Friday, and we get paid for that. Every 6 months, depending on our grades, our attendance, and our performance on the job, we get a raise. So I've been there for a year now, so I'm getting ready to get a $1 raise to get $14 an hour. So that's really nice. And also at the end of every 6 months, depending on your GPA, you get a $1,000 bonus, which is you can use towards whatever you want. So that's really nice. So I've only been in a somewhat paid intern program, so I personally really enjoy it, and it's helped me achieve my dreams too. So.
For the first question, I've worked both paid and unpaid internships. I've worked an unpaid internship when I was in high school, and I don't know. I don't think I don't think the pay had to do with it, but I didn't think I really had a whole lot to do in that internship. But as far as the internship that I did when I was paid, when I was working there, I was, so happy to have the job. I could honestly say that I would still do it if they didn't pay me. It was that much fun. Some days I came to work and I'm like, geez, you pay me to do this? I would do this for free, just for fun. And when it comes to the third question, which non-technical class helped me the most, I honestly have to say doing woodworking helped me a lot, because of fabrication. When you're doing microfabrication, you have to memorize steps. When you're building a chair or you're building, etc., it's the same sort of process flow that okay, I need to think this through, okay, that's not going to work, I need to change this design, etc., etc. I think those classes helped me a lot, and they have nothing to do with micro sensors at all, so.